From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Alexis, codenamed Doc Holliday Jackson. Most importantly, you are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. It is time yet again for our returning listener mail program. Thought we could shout this out at the very top here. Matt, you and Doc and I were talking about this a little bit off air. Hey, Noel, see this shirt?
Yeah, I do. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's killer.
This is from our, we're all family here. This is from our good friends over at the legendary Atlanta restaurant Elmere, who it turns out are big fans of the show. So
and big fans of Hellraiser.
Yes, it is a Hellraiser themed shirt.
Me and your shirts are kind of on theme, Ben. I'm rocking a Neil Gaiman Sandman shirt.
You are.
Morpheus is kind of a kinder, gentler Pinhead in some ways, right?
That's not an off base comparison. I appreciate it. Yeah, similar to the earlier story this week about shouting out someone at a bank, we wanted to shout out Sam at Elmere. And next time you're in Atlanta, folks, let us know. Maybe we'll go get some burritos or a quesadilla with you. In the meantime, we are going to hear from some awesome people. We're going to have a great question about conspiracy theory that might be unfamiliar to people outside of the realm of the military. We're going to hear some reactions to Facebook, Pornhub, Texas, Canada. We're going to learn about a very cool response to our earlier questions about sandwiches. But before we do any of that, we have a voicemail.
And we are here with a message from D, who graced our voicemail lines not that long ago. Here is D.
Hi, guys. You can call me D. I've called a few times before, but I was just listening to your episode talking about Robert Kennedy and the brain thing, and it got me thinking. I read an article yesterday that they did some tests on Beethoven's hair and found that a lot of his ailments, including potentially his deafness, could have been caused by extended periods of time of lead poisoning. They also found arsenic, I think, in the hair samples. Last week I watched the stand-up that Shane Gillis put out, I think on Netflix or whatever, and he was talking about George Washington's teeth and how there was probably lead in them, as well as, unfortunately, the teeth of enslaved human beings. But this got me thinking about the potential of, other leaders who we revere and we think about who've come to power or shown greatness over time, in tandem with potential poisonings. I mean, I think of like Shin Wan-Di, who was slowly drinking mercury because he thought it would, keep him alive forever. I think even like Hitler, who was not a great man, but rose to power. I know he was on a concoction of medications and things. So it got me thinking of that potential, and just wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it and see if you would explore it. Have a great day. Thank you, as always, for having these conversations. Look forward to listening to more.
Fantastic question. Also, nice references historically. Love Shane Gillis, too.
Yes, and he's mentioning George Washington's teeth as potentially being from enslaved people. There's some, there's some interesting stuff you can find online about that kind of rebutes that and says it was probably like a couple of different animal teeth, right? And
they were called straight seahorse. They were called
seahorse teeth, baby.
Yeah.
Hippopotamus is what seahorse refers to. Yeah.
And it was from what I understand, it was the lower kind of bridge of the teeth that were from enslaved peoples. And I think the issue was that lead was kind of the bracing or framework for some of that.
Probably not great.
No. There's an entire hypothesis that has a surprising amount of sand to it, arguing that lead exposure can partially explain some rises in crime over generations. Pretty nuts.
Wow. Yeah, because it does have cognitive effects, right? Again, just like Mercury does.
Mad as a hatter.
Exactly. Guys, I swear we've had an elongated conversation about this kind of thing. Because I specifically remember mercury poisoning. Maybe it was when we were talking about red mercury way back in the day, and it was a tangent or something.
Qixinwan was mentioned in episode we did on the quest for immortality, or several of those, because he essentially ran his version of the known world, and the boffins that he paid to be on his court, or the boffins that were forced to be on his court because if they did not agree, they would be tortured and murdered. They told him drinking mercury would elongate his life, possibly to an indefinite degree.
Tricksy bastards. Love
history would prove they were incorrect.
Well, do you think they knew they were incorrect? Were they secretly just trying to poison him because he was so awful to them?
What a cool question. Don't know. Wasn't there at the time.
I don't know a ton about that guy, but if you want to search for him, it is QIN space SHI space HUANG.
Tintin Wang. We also know, to your question, D, we also know that a lot of very, very intelligent people for their time did things that people in the modern day might find dangerous and foolish, right? But we have to understand we have the benefit of retrospect now. So a lot of those folks might discover something and not fully know the physiological implications of interacting with that substance or chemical or process, right? Marie Curie is one of the most famous examples. Her groundbreaking work did not render her mad, but it did expose her to very carcinogenic substances.
For sure. Guys, let's get to the question of somehow this kind of thing making people rise to the top. Do we think it is potentially a cause and effect thing like that? Or is it somebody persevering against maybe lead exposure? Like the episode, a very recent episode of All Things Considered from NPR, where they discussed Beethoven's hair samples that Dee mentioned in that message, where some so-and-so out there owned some of Beethoven's hair, as you do.
In situations.
Yeah. And this person allowed a few strands of that to go out to the Mayo Clinic for testing. And they looked at it and they saw potential lead poisoning there. Of course, it's not known whether lead was introduced at some point well after Beethoven's death or after at least that sample was collected. But it would maybe give some insight, at least according to this episode and to the specialists that were interviewed within it, that it would give some insight to some of the maladies Beethoven suffered from, including some of the things that made him great, right? When you think about Beethoven, I don't know, I always think about the stuff that he couldn't hear and yet somehow was able to make this incredible music.
Just with pure music theory at that point. And sensing vibrations.
Exactly. I mean, and to me, it's thinking about those kinds of people who you imagine may kind of have superpowers, right? And what if that kind of superpower is only born out of the negative effects or negative situation that has occurred before it, right?
The poison that makes the antidote. Yeah, I mean, to answer your original question, Matt, and to your question, Dee, it seems like we could find cases arguing for both sides of that. We could find the heroic struggle against a medical condition. We could also find a malady that in some way may have explained the later notoriety, prominence, or success of a human individual throughout history. And that's simply a matter of the huge sample size because so many people have lived and died. We also, I don't know this, without waxing too philosophical early in this program, I've always thought, you guys, tell me what you think about this. I've always thought that the ability to become successful, the opportunity, the luck, all of that together, it inherently bundles within it this idea of envisioning a world in which your position or your abilities, etc., are different, right, than they are at that present pre-success moment, which technically is, the nice way to say it is an imagination. The meaner way to say it is hallucination. So maybe you do kind of have to hallucinate a little bit to envision a different world and you having a different place in it.
Well said.
Dude, I'm into it. Let's go, Ben.
Oh, geez. I mean, let's not ingest lead. Nobody ingest lead. Mercury's not going to help.
Or we could listen to the doctors from, I don't know, the late 1800s all the way up to about 1920. And we could take this stuff called blue mass that I had never heard of before.
Is that the stuff that Bene Gesserit drink in the Dune movies?
Maybe. I still haven't seen the second one.
That's good.
But this is a substance that is like used as a tincture, right? Or as some kind of specialty medicine that you would take, that a doctor would say, hey, Ben, Noel, I know you're feeling a little down with whatever. Why don't you take some of this blue mass? Well, what's in it, guys? Licorice root, rose water, honey, sugar, and ton of mercury.
I feel like you buried the lead.
I knew it was either going to be mercury or heroin.
I thought he might end with just orange extract. And we'd be like, wait, which one's the bad one?
Yeah. Well, so according to a couple sources I'm looking at right here, it was originally prescribed as a cure for syphilis, ye old syphilis. But it was also then used as like, oh, you're sick? Take some blue mass. It'll help. Sure. You got a toothache? Got stomach worms? No problem. Blue mass
Brain
is here for
worms?
you.
We got you.
Yeah. Allegedly, Abraham Lincoln took quite a bit of blue mass. But yeah, probably not a great thing. But hey, Lincoln did some cool stuff.
Yeah, allegedly a Melungeon too. Go team.
Whoa.
That part is not proven. But yeah, Lincoln did some cool stuff, noted as an amateur wrestler. And I think he went on to have another career as well. But that may be lost to history. I'm doing ridiculous history references.
Awesome. Guys, I don't have a ton more on this one. I think it's a fascinating topic. I think we might have to expand on it a little bit, but just to find some people who were going through some kind of exposure to some kind of chemical that could have maybe even changed the course of history if they had not been exposed to it.
Oh, I got one. Sigmund Freud and cocaine. Multiple poets through the Victorian and the Victorian era in particular, and opium.
Laudanum, yeah, exactly.
Laudanum, some kind of opium.
Yeah, and Hitler and the Nazis were quite fond of amphetamines. Kept him going to the bitter end.
And he was terrible. Sorry, hot take. I think it was kind of a
not a good guy, not a good dude.
It's reminding me of our episode on presidents and drugs.
Yes.
Remember we talked about all the amphetamines and barbiturates and methadone and what was it? Demerol. Stuff that JFK was just on all the time for all his various, however he needed to be, there was a drug for that.
I feel like that might explain the race to the moon a little bit. You know what I mean? Like he gets his injection or whatever it is, and then someone catches him at the right time while he's super out of it, and he's just like, F it, we'll do it because it's hard.
Dude, they were gamma globulins. Gamma globulins. Come on, if that's not like superhero Marvel-y kind of stuff, what is?
Sounds like you're saying gamma goblins.
Gamma globulins.
I'm on for both of them. Let's do it. Let's hang out with the gamma goblins and let's experiment college style with gamma globulin. Wait, what are gamma
globulins?
Yeah.
It's fun to say. All right. Well, hey, that's it for now. D, thank you so much for sending us that message. If you want to call in, our number is 1-833-STDWYTK. You'll hear how to do it at the end, but you can just call the number now if you want. But for right now, while you're calling, I guess, we're going to move on to a message from our sponsors, then some more messages from you.
And we've returned with a message, another message, in fact, from you. Yes, you, the public, the conspiracy public, conspiracy realists out there. Today we've got a message from the very cryptically named Seven. Okay. This is a really cool topic, guys. One that I was not familiar with, and I've done a little bit of cursory research, but I think this may well be an interesting topic to go a little deeper on down the line. And it also pertains to what we were just talking about, Matt, in terms of like the effects that toxic substances can have, unexpectedly, perhaps. Here we go. From Seven. Hey guys, I love the show. I just fell down a rabbit hole that I can't believe you guys haven't covered, or at least if you have, I haven't seen or heard about it. Don't think we have. So we all know about how militaries around the world have access to night vision goggles, night observation devices, and other similar technologies. But have you ever heard of dicyanin, a chemical that was at one point tested and even used for producing lenses that would be used in night observation devices? Dicyanin apparently allows users to see things that were not really there, potentially seeing into other realms of existence. Internet investigators, in quote fingers there, of the subject claim dicyanin production is now illegal in the United States, and pure dicyanin dye is impossible to get a hold of due to the government wanting to hide the powers that users get from utilizing dicyanin-treated lenses. I found a few claims of testing during the Vietnam War, and soldiers reported seeing demons. No official news on it, as it was easily accessible enough for me to find. However, I found this to be an exciting and interesting rabbit hole to fall down and consume, and I'm sure many fans of the show would enjoy it as well. It fits in well with themes of hauntings and war zones, as I was previously reading about paranormal activity reported by U.S. service members in Iraq, Afghanistan, and even Syria, before delving into the dicyanin situation. Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq is reportedly extremely haunted, and U.S. service members in Afghanistan have reportedly heard old Soviet radio transmissions, as well as seen apparitions. Syria even had a report of a jinn being sighted near the Turkish border. Thanks for your time, and I hope you find this email interesting. Respectfully, Seven. Oh, dude. Buddy.
Written out 7 or number 7?
Number 7.
That's why we ask. That's how we remember. Yeah, this is a doozy. I don't want to plot twist this too soon, but Noel, what do you think? What's your initial reaction?
Well, I had to do a little digging, just to kind of wrap my head around what this even was or is. And it seems as though dicyanin coated lenses were at one point kind of sold as like a novelty device, kind of almost like spy glasses, with the little mirrors on the side. And I actually found a couple of listings for these vintage, they're called Aura goggles. And I've got 2 of what look like the same exact product. One on eBay, official dicyanin Aura glasses, weird, rare, hunting, ghost, Wicca, psychic. And then another one that says dicyanin Aura goggles, hunting, ghost, Reiki, crystal, paranormal, psychic. One of them is $89.99, and the other is $4,999.
Who's the what?
Second one.
Yeah. Yeah, it says dicyanin Aura glass. Dicyanin, first of all, they're trademark. Aura glasses, trademark. See auras instantly. Works as described. I can even see ghosts with them. Amazing glasses. My Reiki students love them. Helpful seller saw my aura instantly in the mirror. Thank you. Fast delivery. Awesome product. And they work.
Dude.
Just like, okay, not to yuck anyone's yum before we get into it, but would it not be cheaper just to take some shrooms?
Well, well, hey guys, you get bulk savings here. If you buy just one, it's $49.99 even. But if you buy 2, it's $44.99 and 10 cents. So
let's get 6.
Pass on the savings. No, I jest, but it's pretty funny. This is not actually a vintage thing. This is clearly a grift. And that's the thing about stuff like reports of being able to see auras. We do have some folks that do it very good naturedly, of course. There's actually a pretty cool local person here in Atlanta who does aura photography, which is really cool. And I'm not really up on the technology or how that works exactly, but it does seem to, whatever type of photographic techniques are used, create varying colors depending on the person. And the idea of an aura, of course, is this internal energy, I guess, that expresses itself in color. And the thing that's interesting about dicyanin is my understanding that what it does is it kind of allows you to see more colors, because the typical human eye has 3 cones, and the cones are what allow us to see color. One of them that a lot of people don't have is the one that allows you to see red, and if you don't have that, it leads to color blindness. And Ben, I believe that's what you have, right? So if you would be lacking that red cone.
Just winging it at traffic lights. It's surprising. So few people have died.
Well, I trust you, Ben. I know that you've got it down pat at this point. But here's the thing that's interesting. The typical human being has 3 different types of cones that divide up visual color. This is from a Healthline article. Information into red, green, and blue signals. These signals can be combined in the brain in a total visual message. There are, however, folks that have an extra type of cone that allows them to see a 4th dimensionality of color. This results from a genetic mutation, and these individuals are called tetrachromats. And guess who are more likely to be tetrachromats, guys?
Female identifying.
That is
Leos.
Absolutely true.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Ben scooped you, Matt. Yes,
Dang.
female identifying individuals containing two X chromosomes, because that is a genetic condition that tends to make that mutation more likely.
And I'm sorry to interject here. We shouldn't say female identifying, just people with 2X chromosomes.
People with 2X chromosomes
because
is
of
the way
the
to go.
genetic expression.
1,000,000%. It is about the expression. Yeah, specifically. And oftentimes, individuals with those 2X chromosomes, they tend to be identified as more likely to have psychic powers or the ability to see beyond the veil,
Witches.
That's exactly right.
No, I'm just joking. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm doing it jokingly.
We also talk about tetrachromats in depth in our previous episodes on real life superpowers.
That's exactly right.
It's a real thing.
Well, and that's the thing, guys. There are ways of, I think there are a couple of tests that you can do to, quote unquote, try to see your aura or the aura of others. And there's 2 very distinctly different ones. One is like holding your hand up in front of a white background, and one involves holding your hand up in front of a black background. And the supporters of each of these tests claim theirs is the best. But it's sort of about looking past your hand and into the kind of middle distance, almost like you're trying to solve one of those magic eye pieces that I've never been very successful at doing. So I kind of have a feeling that I would not see auras either. But we also know that if you squint your eyes real hard, you start to see crazy colors. And if you focus on things long enough, you get eye fatigue that starts to, make things get a little psychedelic looking. So the question then becomes, is this a real energy that is being perceived by those, who maybe are blessed with this additional cone, or not? Because there certainly are people that can claim to see auras, claim to be able to see into other realms without the benefit of these aura goggles or this dicyanin coated lenses.
Yeah. I mean, the first part of your question there is, I think, pretty on point. Human beings, all living things, do emit various sorts of energy. Some of that energy could be heat, right? And animals whose vision ranges into the infrared would be able to perceive that. However, humans, in the grand scheme of things, have a fairly limited spectrum of vision. It also, the idea of documenting it, we've got to say it before the emails get to us, conspiracy@iHeartRadio.com. Kirlian photography is considered one of the old school proofs of auras or energy emanated. And I think also, isn't there the thing where all human beings, their skin is actually sort of zebra-like and they do glow in the dark, just a little bit. I can't remember. I'll have to find it.
Well, I do want to shout out a podcast that I just discovered called Planet Weird, or maybe that's the network, and the podcast is called Haunted Objects Podcast on the Planet Weird network, and they actually are on YouTube. And the hosts, one of whom identifies as a witch, talk extensively about this stuff, and I really learned a lot from listening to their conversation. And they reference the something that came up for us very recently too, the John Carpenter film They Live, where when the person puts on the glasses, he all of a sudden sees through the veil of what's being, like the wool being pulled over our eyes or whatever, and sees the truth behind it all. This like species of whatever, like zombie alien stand-in for, bad invaders, overlords, corporate monsters are actually who are running the show. And also, things like money, all these like catchphrases like, what is it? We own you, or something like that. I actually haven't seen.
Obey, consume.
That's right. Obey, of course, and Shepard Fairey, the artist, took a lot of that imagery and ran with it with a lot of his work.
Money is so hot right now.
Yeah, money's how I like money. I watched Idiocracy the other night. Does not hold up. Did not age well.
You didn't like it?
I like parts of it, but they say the F word, not the fun one, the not so fun one, a lot in that movie, and I found it a little cringy. There are things about it that are funny, but overall, it is a pretty stupid movie, which is sort of the point. And by the F word, I'm referring to the one that is a disparaging term for the queer community, and I don't think they meant any harm. It's meant as a satire. It's meant to be depicting stupid people who are thoughtless. But when you see it thrown around like that a bunch, and I'm also watching it with my kid who is identifies as queer, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is not a soapbox time for Noel Brown.
We do have an answer for you, Seven, and we can trace a little bit of this. So the dicyanin concept, the idea that exposure of human optic capabilities could increase the amount of the spectrum a human can see, it's pretty ancient. It got pretty old. It got popular, I think, due to TikTok conspiracies fairly recently, and the idea of the cover-up is amazing and does sound worth looking into because Uncle Sam gets up to all kinds of creepy shit. The answer is it dates back, in my opinion, to 1912.
Oh, okay. I did want to add, maybe before you give us the juice, it's not illegal to own or to possess. I just think it's not manufactured because it's really toxic. It was used as a fabric dye and industrial processes. But I was looking on some Reddit threads discussing this very thing, and some very helpful chemists went on there and told you how you can make a batch up yourself if you want to.
Because it's like coal tar, right?
That's exactly right. So
okay.
It's certainly not scheduled or something, or somehow illegal to manufacture in your own personal home. It's just no longer made because it was, pretty deadly. And much like mercury is no longer used in curing, the felt for hats.
Well, it's just from the name, it sounds deathly familiar to cyanide. Yeah.
But Ben, what happened in 1912?
Oh, yeah. So back in 1912, there's this guy named Walter John Kilner, Kilner, and he is in London. He was in charge of electrotherapy at St. Thomas Hospital, and he was super into auras. He published one of the first Western medical studies of what he called it, I think, the human atmosphere. And he said that if he treated, his argument was that if he treated certain interfaces or like Kilner screens with this substance in particular, then you would be able to perceive radiation outside the normal spectrum of light that's visible to humans. And he got a lot of attention for it until he published this study in like 1911. In 1912, the British Medical Journal comes out and they say, this absolutely doesn't work. Mm-hmm. We can't prove this is an auric force. And maybe the reason, he also, to your point, Noel, he said, look, we can't look at these screens too long because it will hurt our eyes. But if we look at them after a regular pattern of viewing, if we get our ocular reps in, then we don't need our screens at all. We've been exposed to this dye so hard, or these substances, that we can perceive what he called the N rays. N rays come from another French scientist.
In rays?
Like the letter N for NATO or North. N rays.
God, I thought in my head it was like aura is the out rays, and then the in rays.
That's way cooler. That's way cooler.
That's good.
But it looks like what happened, and you can read the British Medical Journal's approach on this or their conclusions. It looks like Kilner was not able to convince people that his methods were real or that you could see auras. And it's tough because there wasn't at that point a way to really measure it. We also know that's a heck of a campfire story for sure. But if the U.S. government had any kind of perceivable edge in that, any government had a perceivable edge in that kind of pursuit, they would have done it. You know what I mean? Nuclear weapons can end the world, and we still have a ton of those. So why wouldn't they mess with some contacts that could save you some money on night vision goggles?
That'd be so dope. Just put that cyanide right in your eyes.
Just finally, you know what I mean?
Just stick it right in my neck while you're at it, guys. It's okay. Just put it right in there.
And this is not, again, we never want to be the people who come in with this like wrecking the fun of a good story. But to the point you made earlier in this conversation, dicyanin is dangerous for people. So it's important to know that if you genuinely seek night vision at this point, you're probably better off just buying the goggles.
Yeah. Only $5,000 or $89.99, depending on which eBay listing.
No, actual night vision goggles.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry. Actual night vision goggles,
which are in the hundreds and thousands. Sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, depending on the quality.
Ones. Does Timo have them? Does Timo have night vision goggles?
I hope so. I'm sure they probably are made with the cyanide stuff, though. I did want to add, though, Ben, you mentioned certain animals seeing, was it infrared?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I believe there are also like butterflies have something like 6 cones, and they can perceive a world of color that is unknown to any of us. And I do love this idea, and it really is a good thing to always kind of ground yourself to not be skeptical of people perceiving things that we can't perceive, because we know that that's very real. Sure. We don't have the equipment for this stuff, and it really does make me continue to kind of believe that there is something out there that we can't fully wrap our heads around. And I'm always annoyed when people are like, I can't see it, therefore it's not real. I find that to be a cop-out.
Skepticism.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a cop-out, and it is just kind of, what's the word? Just arbitrary kind of, I don't know, negativity. It's just negging. It's yucking the yum and trying to act like you're. It's a very egocentric view of the world, and I think that's maybe the best way to put it.
Also, animals can see in ultraviolet, right? Like, look, humans are behind in the vision game.
Have you seen that Predator, guys? I mean, holy cow.
Guys, I have a way for us to get ahead on this game, and a challenge that I think we can make happen. They sell on this Amazon site that I just found for the first time.
Is that the same as Temu?
I think so. Or Wish, maybe.
Okay.
It has diffraction glasses, like prism glasses that you can buy for $15 or $16, excuse me. If you have Prime, also 2-day returns, whatever it says on here. It's a weird website. It's got all kinds of information.
This episode brought to you by Temu.
Let's all get a pair of those. Alexis, you're included on this. Let's all get a pair of those and then just wear them out somewhere socially, publicly, and see if we can function while all the light we encounter is diffracted as though we are on some kind of substance.
Those are called rainbow goggles, and I'll be there with you, but I'll be wearing my Gooner goggles, aka the Apple Vision Pro.
Nice.
Surely there's a diffraction setting on that thing, right? For however many thousands of dollars that costs. Oof. Well, hey, Thanks, number 7. The number 7 written out as a numerical form. We appreciate that one. That was some cool food for thought. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll have one more piece of listener mail.
We've returned. Skirt. Can I get a record scratch, Doc? Perfect. Thank you. We've got a couple of pieces of correspondence. We've got one from the Maiden Fair, which goes into bacteriophages, but talks about something else at the beginning. So let's go to that. Let's go to that now. Oh, and we're working live. Got a correction. I can't remember which show this is on, or I won't call it a correction. A helping hand from our pal Smallbox Games. The stubby-tailed cats, the ones that are born without tails, they are the Manx cats. So thank you, Smallbox Games, who just got to us on that one. And now we go to the Maiden Fair. The Maiden Fair says, hey guys, it's the Maiden Fair. You can use my name if you'd like, if you did want to share this. It's very relevant to your recent show on Pornhub, which, by the way, Maiden Fair, I think was very difficult for all of us. Yes. Very dark subject. So Maiden Fair says, I live in Texas. I just listened to your episode on primarily Pornhub and adult entertainment. And I was waiting.
She listens to us on Pornhub?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Well, it's a gig economy.
Okay.
So she says, I was waiting for you all to talk about the new self-imposed ban Pornhub has inflicted upon its users in Texas. I don't know if you were aware of this, she basically says. I will attach screenshots I took from what I could see when I try to go to the site from my phone without a VPN. There, the Maiden Fair concludes. And just to give some context here, Maiden Fair, in that episode, we had to explore some very troubling things. I think we published that on the 17th, and maybe the Pornhub Texas ban came into effect on the 15th of May, a couple of days before. But have you guys heard about this one?
Oh, yeah. That was just a piece of like random news, I guess, when we were researching that episode. Well, it's weird. I think Maiden Fair is talking about a VPN there. Like if we put used a VPN from here and selected Texas, could we still access Pornhub?
Right. You're spot on, dude. Yeah. Pornhub is also blocked in Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, North Carolina, Virginia, and Utah.
I didn't know that individual states could block websites.
No, it's the private company blocking access to itself.
Oh, because of the laws being so stringent there that they're afraid of.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the requirement, at least in the case of Texas, it's a bill called HB 1181 requiring adult sites to verify that visitors are of age. And it's,
it's very telling, isn't it, of Pornhub's policies that they would just say, you know what, better safe than sorry. Let's just pull the whole thing.
Just turn it off right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Pornhub's argument there is interesting because they're saying this type of legislation will only drive people to less scrupulous sites, which, quote, put minors and your privacy at risk.
Yeah.
But it's a for-profit company saying that.
Yeah. And as we said, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, distributor of Lepron.
Lepron. Okay. Old school internet language. I love it. We're so elite right now. But you make an excellent point there, Matt, because Pornhub is, of course, one facet of a much larger company we go into detail on called ALO, which was formerly called MindGeek. And this is something that I think more people should be aware of. We talked in our previous Strange News earlier this week about VPNs. In general, it is good to have a VPN. You don't need to rationalize it by saying you're looking at untoward things or unclean things. It's just a way to protect yourself against the growing erosion of privacy. But also, am I being a jerk? I would question some of their motives. in this.
Oh, you think
protest.
Pornhub's motives into question? Oh dear, no, yeah, definitely. But by the way, I mean the VPN thing. One thing I think people forget is like there are all kinds of hacking scams out, in public internet that are disguised as other things. If you log into that without a VPN, you are exposed. But if you do it through a VPN, you've got that extra layer of protection. So there are many completely legitimate reasons for using a VPN.
Well said. So this leads us to another conversation, and something that this show and civilization, I think more importantly, is wrestling with in the human world, which is the idea of anonymity or perceptions thereof in the online landscape, right? Whenever there is a move against privacy, it's often going to be packaged and presented as protecting the innocent, right? Protecting the children. You need to have your government ID on record to use the internet, because if you don't, the terrorists win. Stuff like that.
But
Sure.
it just stinks that I can see the argument for it.
Yeah, I can see the argument too. I'm just saying, I can also see how it is convenient, crooked, and easily weaponized.
I'm right there with you too. It just stinks that we can't have it both ways. Can't stop the really truly evil stuff that's happening unless you have something like that. But then the rest of us are, I don't know. I don't like it.
What if people were just less crappy?
Hey, you think we could make that happen?
I don't know.
I think that ship might have sailed, Ben.
You might be right.
We need to get the lead out of our water sources.
Remember?
That's
Oh
it.
my God! You just gave me a flashback. On my local classic rock radio station, this may have been common. They always had a block of Led Zeppelin music called "Get the Lead Out."
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, well, what if we just, as corporate America says, and obviously corporate America never makes mistakes, what if we just lean into it? What if we get the lead back in the pipes? What if we get the mercury back in the hats?
And the microplastics out of our balls.
No, we're
It's just in there
That
for
is
life,
true.
man.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll give us superpowers,
I mean, if pissing plastic is a superpower.
I was going to say coming confetti.
Congratulations.
So,
Is that going to be a new search term on Pornhub? Microplastic?
Oh, boy. Oh,
Jesus
boy.
Christ,
He's in
guys.
too deep. That's amazing.
That's what. Never mind.
We do have one more piece of correspondence here. Just as you know, folks, we like to end the show with letters from home, and there's something that's very important to all of us, both making the show and, more importantly, all of us listening along at home, wherever in the wide world we may be. This comes to us from Uninformed Burrito, who says, "Hey guys, just listen to strange news earlier. Is it possible that the burrito taco ruling you mentioned was made for tax purposes? I live in northwestern Ontario, and our province has rules about what taxes places can apply based on if the item can be considered a meal or just a snack. And ding, ding, burrito, you are correct."
No, that's exactly right.
That's exactly it.
It was a designation of like fast food versus like a sit down thing. It was about zoning. It was something I read that. Isn't that right?
Exactly. That's in the article. Yeah. There's also a cool thing here. Like usually when we hear those fun, viral, late night news fodder stories, usually there is some real, often financially motivated reason behind it, right? That's why certain products have weird qualifications as foods in the United States. It goes back to how they're taxed. So kudos to Burrito. I would say you are not uninformed, dear friend. You are a very informed Burrito. You also hipped us to something called the Food Cube Rule. Have you guys heard of this? Have you seen this?
Is the food cube like the new food pyramid?
I'm looking at it right now.
I don't know about this.
So
I'll share a picture.
first thing I'm seeing, I just had sushi the other day. Their depiction of sushi is right and wrong. It's right and wrong, because you can get sushi with the toast situation too, where the rice is just on the bottom, right?
Yeah, it's like a heuristic, right? So it's not in-depth correct, but it's the Food Cube Rule, or the Cube Rule of Food, is premised on the idea that one can identify dishes based on the location of the starch. And you make an excellent point, Matt, not all sushi is cubed up, right? Sashimi,
I like a hand roll. That's a
hand
cone.
rolls. You love a hand roll.
I love a hand roll.
And the calzone, of course, there are 6 in the cube rule of food. There's 1 toast or an open-faced sandwich, as someone call it in
A
Europe.
pizza?
Yeah, a pizza.
Well,
a
see, that's the thing.
flatbread.
One could argue that a hot dog is an open-faced sandwich.
One could, especially depending on, like, when I was living in Central America, hot dogs are often served like on a
Piece of white bread.
tortilla or a piece of
Yeah,
bread. Yeah,
100%.
A taco then is number 3. Well, number 2, sandwich, starch on bottom and top. Taco starch is on the bottom, and then the 2 vertical sides. Sushi cube. As we said, it's a heuristic. It's not entirely accurate.
But it's an open cube, right? The 2 ends are covered.
Exactly. Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes.
But is it a
perfect.
hypercube?
That is the question.
It really is, guys.
The calzone also could have further cubes of food within it. The mystery continues, and we're glad you're here for it, folks. We want to hear your in-depth, beat me here, Doc, your in-depth opinion on sandwiches and foodstuffs in general. We're big fans of food. Hope that's not a hot take. Thanks to D. Thanks
Wait
to
a minute.
7. Yeah.
Is a salad with croutons a sandwich? Sorry, my head's all messed up.
It depends
now.
on the size and
Jeez.
location of
They're
the
cubes.
crouton.
They're
If
cubes,
it's one big
Ben.
crouton, I would eat a crouton bowl salad. Thanks also to the Very Informed Burrito. Thanks to the Maiden Fair. Thanks to everybody who has tuned in and joined us. We cannot wait to hear from you. Get in contact with us. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the global woods. We try to be easy to find in any number of ways.
Correct. You can find us at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook, YouTube, and X, FKA Twitter. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show.
You can call us. Our number is 1-833-STDWYTK. When you call in, you've got 3 minutes. Say whatever you'd like. It's a voicemail. Do let us know if we can use your name and voice on the old listener mail episode. If you got more to say than can fit in that voicemail, why not instead send us a good old-fashioned email? We are
the folks who read every single email we get. Send us the pictures. Send us the most interesting sandwiches in your neck of the global woods. Furthermore, send us ideas for future episodes you think your fellow conspiracy realist will enjoy. No character limit. Send the links. We read every email we get. Be well aware, folks, the void may write back. Conspiracy@iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.